Alp Arslan, the Lion of the Seljuks. In the windswept plains of the Central Asian steppe, where the horizon seemed endless, and the earth met the sky in a hazy shimmer, a boy was born whose name would one day echo from the deserts of Khorasan to the gates of Constantinople. His given name was Muhammad bin Dawood Chagri, but history would remember him by another, Alp Arslan, the heroic lion. The year was around 1029, and the world into which he came was in a state of restless change. The Seljuk tribe, a branch of the Kunuk clan of the Oghuz Turks, had risen from nomadic obscurity to become a formidable political force. They were warriors of the steppe, horsemen who had mastered the bow before they could walk, men whose lives were measured by the pace of their horses and the pull of their bows. The boy's father, Chagri Beg Dawood, was already a legend in his own time, a co-founder of what would become the Seljuk Empire and ruler of the rich region of Khorasan. His mother, according to some accounts, was of Khwarezmian royal blood, though the truth is wrapped in the uncertainty of medieval chronicles. From the very start, Alp Arslan's upbringing was steeped in the twin traditions of the Oghuz steppe and the Islamic cities of the East. In the open pastures, he learned the arts of horsemanship, archery, and survival, skills every Turkic boy of the steppe mastered. But in the cities of Khorasan, he was also taught the Quran, the principles of Islamic law, and the subtleties of statecraft. His education was not a matter of idle formality. It was preparation for a life of leadership in a turbulent world. And the world of his youth. The 11th century was an age of shifting powers. The mighty Abbasid Caliphate, which had once ruled from the Atlantic coast to the borders of China, still held spiritual authority over the Muslim world, but real political control had fractured into the hands of regional dynasties. In Iran and Central Asia, the Seljuks were rising fast, challenging local rulers and confronting the great rival empires, the Ghaznavids to the east, the Fatimids to the south, and in the distant west, the Byzantine Empire. The Seljuks' rise was as rapid as it was unexpected. Chagri Beg and his brother Tughril Beg had led their warriors from the steppes into Persia, defeating the Ghaznavids at the Battle of Dandanakan in 1040, a victory that opened the gates of Iran to the Turks. From there, the Seljuks expanded into Iraq and the Caucasus, building a realm that would soon stretch from the borders of China to the Mediterranean. It was in this heady atmosphere of conquest and consolidation that young Muhammad, not yet called Alp Arslan, came of age. He saw firsthand the responsibilities of rulership, the necessity of rewarding loyal warriors, managing diverse peoples, and navigating the treacherous politics of an empire that spanned many cultures and religions. The path to power. Before he became sultan, Alp Arslan was already tested in the fires of war and governance. Appointed governor of Khorasan by his father, he was responsible for one of the richest and most strategically important provinces of the empire. Khorasan was the empire's eastern shield, a frontier land facing both the threats of the steppes and the ambitions of rival Muslim dynasties. From Nishapur, Merv, and Herat, he directed campaigns against rebellious governors and fought to protect Seljuk authority. When his father died, Alp Arslan inherited not only his father's lands but also his position as one of the most powerful princes in the Seljuk hierarchy. His uncle, Tughril Beg, ruled as the first Seljuk sultan from the imperial capital at Ray, but the question of succession loomed large. Tughril had no sons, and court intrigue over who would inherit the throne grew intense. Rival claimants emerged, each backed by different factions of the army and nobility. When Tughril died in 1063, the struggle for the throne erupted into open conflict. Alp Arslan proved both a skilled diplomat and a decisive commander, defeating his rivals and securing the loyalty of key emirs. In the same year, he was crowned as the second sultan of the Great Seljuk Empire. The lion on the throne. Alp Arslan's reign began with a critical choice. He appointed as his vizier Nizam al-Mulk, one of the most brilliant statesmen in Islamic history. Nizam was more than an administrator. He was a visionary who understood how to weld together the diverse peoples of the Seljuk realm into a cohesive empire. His reforms in taxation, justice, and education laid the groundwork for Seljuk power for generations. Under their combined leadership, the empire entered a period of consolidation and expansion. Alp Arslan stabilized the eastern frontiers, bringing rebellious provinces under firm control. He expanded into the Caucasus, taking cities from the Georgians and Armenians. His armies were feared across the region, for they combined the mobility of steppe cavalry with the discipline and organization of a settled empire. The road to Manzikert. The defining moment of Alp Arslan's reign, and perhaps his entire life, came in 1071 in a place called Manzikert. By the mid-11th century, the Seljuks had pushed into eastern Anatolia, threatening lands long held by the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantines, under Emperor Romanos IV or Diogenes, sought to halt the Turkish advance and reclaim lost territory. Romanos assembled a vast army, drawing troops from across his empire and from allied states, a mix of Byzantine regulars, Frankish and Norman mercenaries, Pecheneg horsemen, and Armenian auxiliaries. It was a formidable force, but also one riddled with divisions. Alp Arslan, who had been campaigning in the south against the Fatimids in Syria, learned of Romanos's advance and moved swiftly north. He brought with him a smaller army, perhaps 30,000 to 40,000 men, but they were veterans, masters of hit-and-run tactics, and deeply loyal to their sultan. The two armies met near Manzikert, in what is now eastern Turkey. The battle that followed has been told and retold in countless histories, but its essence lies in the cunning of Alp Arslan. Feigning retreat, his horse archers lured the Byzantines into a disorganized pursuit. When the moment was right, the Seljuk forces wheeled around and struck from all sides, enveloping the enemy. By nightfall, the Byzantine army was shattered. Emperor Romanos himself was captured and brought before Alp Arslan. The Sultan treated him with unexpected courtesy, famously asking, "What would you do if I were brought before you as a prisoner?" Romanos replied, "Perhaps I would kill you." Alp Arslan smiled and said, "My punishment is heavier. I forgive you." He then released the emperor after a ransom and peace treaty were agreed. A justice and governance victory at Manzikert opened Anatolia to large-scale Turkish settlement. But Alp Arslan was not merely a conqueror. He was deeply committed to justice and good governance. With Nizam al-Mulk's help, he established a network of Nizamiya madrasas, centers of learning that would produce scholars, judges, and administrators for the empire. He enforced Islamic law but also maintained a reputation for fairness toward Christians, Jews, and other minorities. Chroniclers speak of his personal discipline. Though he commanded one of the largest empires in the Muslim world, he often wore simple clothes and lived without excessive luxury. In the final campaign and death. In 1072, Alp Arslan turned his attention eastward, launching a campaign against the Karakhanids in Central Asia. During this campaign, he besieged a fortress held by Yusuf al-Khwarizmi. Accounts differ on what followed, but most agree that during negotiations, Alp Arslan either insulted or threatened Yusuf, who suddenly lunged at the Sultan with a concealed dagger. The blow was mortal. Alp Arslan died on December 24, 1072 at the age of about 43. His body was carried to Merv, where he was buried beside his father. His son, Malik Shah the Firm, succeeded him, ushering in the golden age of the Seljuk Empire. The legacy of the Lion Alp Arslan's reign lasted less than a decade, but its impact was immense. His victory at Manzikert changed the balance of power in the Middle East, setting the stage for centuries of Turkish dominance in Anatolia, and eventually, the rise of the Ottoman Empire. His combination of military genius, statesmanship, and personal integrity made him one of the most respected rulers in Islamic history. To his people, he was the embodiment of the ideal ruler, brave in battle, just in governance, and humble in personal life. To his enemies, he was a force to be reckoned with, a man who could defeat an emperor in battle and then treat him with honor. Before the Battle of Manzikert, Alp Arslan addressed his troops with words that still resonate. "If I am killed, let my son be your sultan. But if we are victorious, remember that victory belongs to Islam, not to me." And victory did come, not just on the field of Manzikert, but in the enduring legacy of the man they called the heroic lion.